to another episode of Culture Calls, a monthly podcast by Culturelytics, where we talk all about culture in organizations, why it matters, and how leaders can get to grips with it. Today, I'm very pleased to be talking with one of our own team, Radhika Joshi. Radhika is lead for workplace culture solutions at Culturelytics, where she plays a central role in helping our clients evolve their organizational cultures using our AI-backed culture analytics. Radhika is a behavioral scientist. She is an engineer and an MBA by education, who then turned her focus to the area of training, organizational development, and behavioral psychology. She has 10 years experience with corporates, including HDFC Asset Management and PricewaterhouseCoopers, as well as consulting for government, while also conducting academic research. She's recently completed a PhD on the subject of great interest to her, stress, coping mechanisms, and spirituality among working professionals. A focus on spirituality in the workplace sounds really fascinating, and we'll talk about this. But first, welcome, Radhika. We're extremely pleased to be featuring you today on Culture Calls. And let's start with you. Can you tell us a bit about yourself, your work in the field of organizational behavior, and how you came to it?
Thank you, Clyde. That was such a hearty introduction. So I think I was about in 12th standard, and my interest for maths was so high that I thought that the natural progression, if you like, maths is engineering going forward. That is the culture in India. And because I had a lot of family members who was engineers, I thought, well, that's the way for me. However, secretly somewhere I wanted to do psychology. I wanted to study psychology. I was really fascinated by the fact that how people think in certain way. Why do they think? What prompts them to think in certain way? But as luck would have it, I completed engineering, MBA, started working, and then when it came to doing PhD, I landed up with a faculty who later on became my guide, whose background was in psychology, and maybe he saw something in me. That's when we both worked around a topic which was both related to HR and psychology, and that's where the whole idea about stress coping mechanism and spirituality came into picture. Yes.
That's fascinating. So, but this research in a way combines your background. So it's also your business background and your engineering
Yes.
background in a way gave you a practical uh, uh, grounding in how businesses are run. And then that helps you look at organizational behavior.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, as part of my thesis, what I really studied is that what are the efforts that organizations make towards reducing the stress, towards improving the resilience, psychological well-being at large. And what was very interesting is that an organization can build a culture or a climate such that the stress automatically reduces. I mean, look at it. The stress is caused by the organization, and hence it becomes the onus of the organizations to try and reduce it themselves. And when I say spirituality, it really does not linger around the idea of religion. What it means is how employees can find meaning and purpose through the work that they do.
Yes. Yeah, no, that's very interesting. And especially in the wake of the pandemic, obviously stress, burnout, attrition are clearly on the rise and a real and growing challenge to organizations. And you've, in fact, in talking about spirituality, you've actually argued that creating a spiritual environment in the organization can help address that challenge. So you've started to, but if you continue to can tell us a little bit more about what you mean by spirituality and the
Sure.
role you believe it plays in the workplace in addressing these issues of stress and burnout.
Sure. Now imagine a situation, everyday basis, we are doing the same kind of work. But someday the same work makes us or gives us a high, a feeling that you don't know where the time has passed. It goes 4 hours straight and we just don't know. We don't even feel hungry or we don't even hear anything, any disturbance which is going on outside. That is because we have united with the work. We have become one with the work.
Hmm.
And that particular day, uh, we feel a different kind of satisfaction. That is what is spirituality. So we know what work we are doing, how that work is actually helping the organization, what role we play, and that in turn, that mystical realism kind of a feeling that we get, that is what is spirituality.
Very interesting. So not obviously not about religion really, but about the sense of connecting to something bigger than yourself. Would you
Yes,
put it that way?
yes, absolutely, absolutely.
So I've heard people talk about a sense of people getting a sense of flow, whereas you say they don't notice the time passing.
Yes,
They've just really one with the work.
yes, yes, absolutely.
Fascinating. That's absolutely fascinating because I'm not sure people think of spirituality that way or think in terms of it being relevant to the workplace, but the way you're describing it's extremely relevant to the workplace. Is there any particular kinds of things you can describe about that? Any examples? Any kind of um,
Sure. So in one of the past organizations that I worked, I had a role which expected me to participate in a lot of CSR initiatives and create initiatives for the employees. Now, what
so
usually happens is,
just
sorry,
for our listeners. So CSR, you mean corporate social responsibility, which
yes, I mean corporate social responsibility. Now, what really happens is that every employee uh, has this need to give back to the society. They always want to do something towards it. But because of the work or their lifestyle, either they are not aware about opportunities or they don't find time out of their usual daily jobs to give back to the society. So my role was very interesting because I used to interact with these employees and I to try to understand from them what areas they would like to really give back to, whether it was education, whether it was women empowerment, whether it was rural areas, or whether it was towards environment. And basis this, I would curate programs for employees. What started happening is that initially they would tell me that no, we have some client engagements or we have certain other commitments that we are busy with, and hence we would not like to participate.
mm,
But slowly and steadily, as they started participating in it, uh, all the reasons were vanished. They jumped
yeah.
out of the window. They would
Mhm.
make effort to find time which would otherwise not hamper their deliverables, but they would find time to it. And the experience that they would talk about after the end of the event, they would feel, okay, when is the next event? Please tell us, when can we do this again?
Mhm.
So yeah, the number of hours that they would spend in these initiatives would connect them to the society, which would make them feel transcendent, just increased.
Mhm.
Yes.
And in your experience, that was also good for the organization because it helped them connect to the organization having had this experience. Is that how you would describe it?
Yes,
Or
yes. They felt more connected to the organization because now they felt that, the organization is not just a means to earn money or do their work, but it also gives them an opportunity to participate in the larger society. So they started seeing the organization in a different light, and that was the agenda behind uh, curating initiatives for them. Yes.
right. So this sort of the sense of connection that they got, and was perhaps a, a wellspring, a source of motivation, and for the employees that maybe companies are not tapping into enough. Would you say?
They try to, but they don't. What I understand is that even if there are opportunities for employees to participate in, either they are not marketed well, or employees are not made aware about these initiatives. In fact, what I would understand is that if it's not just for the employees, but even their family members were to join them in these initiatives, even their families would be more involved with the organization than just the employees.
So they'd even get, the employee would get family support for their
Yes,
work for the organization, for
yes,
the company or for the organization.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I mean, imagine a person then saying, after the family is also involved in these initiatives, the employee saying that, look, darling, I have to work a couple of extra hours this weekend.
Uh-huh.
uh, I'm sure the family would be like, oh, that's okay. Next
Yeah,
weekend we are being part of that event. So please go ahead, spend more time.
isn't that fascinating? So it's almost people talk now about how leadership is more and more about creating communities. And it sounds like this is a very, to think in terms of that kind of connection is part of create for leaders to create communities
Yes,
where employees can be their best selves at work, it sounds like.
absolutely.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
so fascinating. And it's also about finding meaning and in in the workplace. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And if the or see, while we were talking about spiritual climate, I would also like to add that if the organization was to uh, explain it to the employees that it's not just they are not just a small part in the entire machinery. They actually, or they are not just a piece in the entire puzzle. Uh, they are the piece which completes the puzzle.
Oh, interesting twist
Yes.
on that.
Yes, that would actually add value to the work that employees do and the effort that employees will put in completing that entire puzzle would be phenomenal. And that's where people will be able to find meaning and purpose in life.
That's fascinating. So again, a sense of purpose with regard to the goals of the business or the organization.
Yes.
So you mean people understanding it's that better understanding
Yeah.
their role, their
Yeah.
part in the success of the
Yes.
organization
Yes.
at all levels, I assume you're talking about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All levels. Every employee needs to know how important piece they are to the entire puzzle. And that's when the efforts that every employee puts in will be marvelous.
Yeah, it's just so fascinating, sort of the importance of finding meaning for people and therefore for employees and doing their work and the sort of the spin-off effects of that for the
Yes.
company. It's fascinating. So in terms of, for our listeners, in terms of policies and practices, and what is it that leaders um, should be doing, or what might they consider to help employees find meaning, this kind of meaning in the workplace?
What I've noticed is that what gets measured gets managed.
Mm.
Now, the measure of success of an organization is either the top line or profits or market share. That's why all efforts within the organization are inclined towards maximizing any of these or all of these. Uh, if success of an organization was based on, let's say, well-being of its employees as bottom line, and its culture at the top line, then organizations would naturally put all their efforts towards the well-being of its employees and establish a culture which will ultimately provide that competitive edge that they are always looking for. uh, we've all heard that strive for excellence and success will follow. To
Mhm.
this, if organizations strive for culture and well being and helping employees find that meaning and purpose in life, success in terms of revenue, profits, and market share will most certainly follow.
Yeah,
Uh,
interesting. So you're saying leaders should be paying sort of the same kind of disciplined attention to these soft factors as they do to financial
yes,
measures,
yes,
marketing measures, et cetera, that they need to start. So that means they need to start measuring
yeah,
things like culture and well-being.
yes, yes, yes,
So
absolutely.
you think technology can help with that?
Oh, absolutely. Today we have so many instruments. I mean, AI has come up so well that it can actually understand the organization, be part of it, understand the values that the organization has, the employees' values, whether they're aligned with that of the organization or not. Uh, how interconnected each employee is in today's time. Uh, Generally we see that employees may be just connected with their business units, but that's not true. Today, technology and AI can tell you whether employee is connected not just because of the work, but even outside of the work, how it is connected to various people within the organization. So yes, technology will play a lot of important role in understanding the culture in large.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's very interesting because I don't think a lot of leaders are thinking that way yet about it. They're starting to understand the importance of it, but may not be aware of some of these tools that they can use to help manage things like
Yes.
culture and well-being. Yeah, I often refer in these conversations to a quote by former GE CEO Jack Welch, who said, "It's the soft stuff is the hard stuff." So how do you
Absolutely.
get to grips with these soft things? And as you know, our company has created an AI-backed culture analytics tool. So
Right.
perhaps that's something that can help people better understand how the culture is functioning in their
Yeah.
organization and help them get tools to manage it.
Right, right. So, the beauty about our tool is that it combines the softer aspects in terms of well-being and culture to the actual aspects that get measured in terms of revenue and profits. It tries to understand the business aspect of it as well as employee aspect of it and tries to bring it together. The amalgamation of this is what Culturelytics talks about. uh, it's so fascinating that if organizations usually publish annual reports. Now imagine organizations start publishing data related to the culture and well-being. That would be exciting times and
Right?
lead to the overall upliftment of the society, you know?
Fascinating, fascinating, and presumably to the success of the individual organization. Yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. Well, that's great, Radhika. It's really interesting to hear you talk about this side of how organizations can be successful and the importance of this sense of meaning. Because in society, I think we're talking a lot about meaning for people, but I'm not. It's interesting to apply that to business, and to know that there are tools out there to help you sort of leverage the environment. Make it a meaningful environment for people, and it will improve their connection to the organization and ultimately their performance, I assume.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, that sounds great. Is there anything else? I think we're coming to the close of the conversation. Is there anything else you'd like to leave the audience with, or is that perhaps about creating that kind of environment in a company?
It's not just the employees who are responsible for their well-being. It's everybody who is part of this equation who is responsible for the well-being. And when organizations take this up, every employee would want to work for such an organization. So yeah, yeah,
So that
I
becomes
would
part of the
love to see that.
competitive equation. It becomes,
Yes,
would you say?
absolutely, absolutely.
Great. Well, thank you so much. This has really been fascinating, Radhika Joshi. So thank you
Yes.
for joining us today. And thanks everyone for listening. If you'd like to hear more about Radhika's insights on organizational behavior and how Culturelytics can help you build successful workplace cultures, you can get in touch with us via our website at www.culturelytics.ai. And please go ahead and make sure to like this post in the session on either LinkedIn or Twitter. So that's it for today. And again, thanks, Radhika, and see you all next time on Culture Calls.